I think the Locked On Blue Jays boys just willed George Springer to a legacy game.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This episode of Locked On Blue Jays is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. I'm Braden Wasco. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Braden5Wasco, Carter First 2 as well on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays. Drop a subscription if you're new here on YouTube or if you haven't done it already. And if you're listening anywhere else, we really appreciate it. And yeah, keep up the work. I don't know what to say. What has happened in Blue Jays land? We have so much to get into today. First of all, we have to talk about the huge win over the Yankees, the legacy game from George Springer, which we will get into right away. And then there was some very interesting comments from Ross Atkins and Bo Bichette on the trade front, and it's not looking good. So we'll get there too. And then, of course, we'll tee up the weekend's games along with Game 2. But Carter, let's just start off with the miracle game that was George Springer today. I just want your immediate thoughts. What is going on?
I forgot how fun it was to watch George Springer just launch baseballs. Two three-run home runs. There we go. Had a tough time saying it because we just don't say it ever because George Springer just hasn't hit home runs this season. But here he comes in the first inning, 3-run bomb right down the left field line. And then in the second inning, just absolutely kills the baseball over the Budweiser sign. Are you kidding me? George Springer, 3 home runs in his last 2 games. Maybe John Schneider was onto something here. Maybe we should have given John Schneider a little bit more credit. I'm not going to go that far yet. It's been 2 games. But what a 2 games has it been for George Springer? Absolutely insane. Pretty much single-handedly winning the Toronto Blue Jays the game today against the New York Yankees. And thank you also to Carlos Rodon. What a better guy to just put the Blue Jays back on track. It's just a New York Yankees win just feels so unbelievable. Every single time. It doesn't compare to any other team. I love beating the Yankees.
It is the best feeling. Out of every series there is, beating the New York Yankees is the best. And I think all Blue Jays fans can attest to that one. But yeah, Carter, just overall, I mean, watching Springer hit those balls was just unbelievable. And the sort of sad part is you're right. It's so weird that we haven't seen this for a season and a half now. And all of a sudden, 3 home runs in 2 games, and he looks like the second coming of Jesus. So I don't know. I'm just sort of blown away. I don't know what my thought process is right now. This is sort of immediate reactions from us. Vlad, another bomb today as well. It sort of looks like they're starting to piece things together. Justin Turner, I mean, had another decent day, 1 for 3, 2 runs scored, an RBI. I don't know if everybody can get cooking. I mean, it looks good. The only problem is that we're so far behind the 8 ball right now. It's going to take a Moneyball miracle run to make the playoffs, it seems. So, Carter, my question just before we sort of break down the stats of today's game and everything like that, does this give you faith that this team could make something happen with the current lineup that they have?
I mean, we're getting the New York Yankees at a good time. They've lost 4 straight series. Their pitching's just been horrendous. Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, pretty much all of them. Juan Soto has been struggling a little bit as of late. Aaron Judge, I didn't realize he had 77 RBIs. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Like, you can combine Vladdy and then Dalton Varsho, and that's 75 RBIs right there. Probably different after this game. But it's Aaron Judge just insane. And Jose Berrios did a great job of neutralizing that guy. But back to your original question, can this offense get it done? George Springer's not going to hit 3 home runs every 2 games. That's just not obviously consistent for any baseball player at that point. But again, George Springer just needs to show a pulse. Bo Bichette, again, didn't look great today. That's another guy we're going to have to rely on. Spencer Horwitz, I want to see him get more at-bats against left-handers. I get you don't like the lefty-lefty matchup, but a little bit of lineup construction things that I would change. But if you get David Schneider in this lineup, you get IKF, who's just an on-base machine. I guess the New York Yankees hate that guy as they hit him 3 times in this baseball game. Absolutely nuts stuff. IKF revenge game. but you just need consistency. And this offense has looked good the last 3 games. But again, I don't know. We got to see more. That's kind of where I'm at with this. I'm not taking too much away right now. It has been a good 3-game stretch for the offense, but we need to see consistency. We need to see them do this against good pitching. Carlos Rodon, not great. Cutter Crawford's actually not bad, so that was a good pitcher to beat up here. But if they can take 3 out of 4 against the Yankees and just start clawing their way back closer and closer to the wild card spot, again, there's a lot of season left, but you can't just be throwing away games right now. This offense needs to be consistent. The bullpen needs to be a whole lot better. Helps a lot when you get Jose Berrios throwing 7 innings. But if you can start slowly clawing your way back in, the season is nowhere close to being over. You have over halfway. It's one game at a time. So that's what Toronto Blue Jays have to do. One game at a time, one at-bat at a time, one pitch at a time for this offense.
Yeah, that's sort of where I'm at too, is that, the proof has been in the pudding all season a little bit, in the sense of we haven't seen this consistently. Yeah, there's a couple of games where they've gone off and had good days, but the consistency isn't there. So for me right now, I'd love to say that this team is back and everything like that and whatever. But at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, it's a good couple of game stretch, but they got to put these together and start winning series. So I'm not complaining. I think this was a great win. It's nice to see George Springer doing anything, never mind a 2-home-run game. So I'm pretty happy with the performance overall today, or yesterday, I guess. But yeah, I'm just going to have to see more. At the end of the day, there is a lot of problems on this team. And yes, some of them look like they're starting to turn a new leaf. But yeah, I'm just going to have to see more, Carter.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the offense over these last 3 games, I mean, you're looking at it, 24 runs over 3 games. You're taking that every single day of the week. Again, that's not consistent. You don't need 8 runs a game. You would be fine probably with 4 or 5. But yeah, Vladdy's starting to turn it on. He's having a lot of extra base hits. If George Springer can just literally have a pulse, you have multiple other guys that can work in this lineup and have productive at-bats. IKF's been really good. David Schneider obviously having good at-bats. Spencer Horwitz when he's in the lineup. Ernie Clement, another guy that's having good at-bats. Justin Turner heating it up. So things are looking a lot better than, let's say, a week ago for the Toronto Blue Jays offense. But again, you got to put it all together. You need your bullpen to pitch better. The starting pitching has been good the entire year. Not really worried about that at all. But you need all 3 facets of the game. I guess you could say all 4 facets of the game. You need them to be clicking. You need your defense to be good. Let's just throw 5 in there. Your base running, your pitching, your offense, just everything above. You need it all to be clicking at the same time. We haven't seen that yet this season. So again, I didn't think this team could go on a streak like this. Again, we got to pump the brakes a little bit here because it is only 2 games, 2 straight wins for the Toronto Blue Jays. But every game matters. They can start putting something together here. It's be a great time to start. I'll tell you that for free, because we're 80 games into the season. Tomorrow's game, or today's game, as this is coming out, will be the actual halfway point of the season. So you got to start winning games. You got to string something together. And hopefully you can start this big run against an AL East rival in the New York Yankees.
Yeah, they need it. They need it. And you know what? Like, looking back over this whole season, I don't think anybody would be in the wrong saying that this isn't what they've wanted to see. Yes, it's been 3 good games that this team has put together. But at the end of the day, they have to continue on this pace. And you're right. If this team somehow turns this season on its head and starts competing for a playoff spot, maybe I walk back my John Schneider take a little bit. But up to this point, 3 games doesn't make me do that. I need to see this consistently. And I know we've had a lot of people comment just on actually our old videos. I think they must have went back and looked at them and said, like, George Springer, 2-home-run game. We've gotten a couple comments like that already. So yes, unbelievable. A lot of fun game to watch. But at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, you were hit the nail on the head. We got to see this going forward throughout the rest of the series. We always say ride the hot hand. This team just has to continue and keep on riding the hot hand that they've given themselves here. So before I continue, Carter, I just want to go over a couple stats from today, just some standouts. Jose Berrios, 7 innings pitched, gives up 2 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned, obviously 8 Ks, 3 walks, 1 home run given up. Just a really good day. The bullpen did a great job. Zach Pop, no hits given up, 2 Ks, 1 walk. Bowden Francis, 1 inning pitched, 1 hit, and 1 strikeout. Bullpen did the job today that we needed them to. They had a lot of leeway to work with. So you saved your guys like Chad Green and Trevor Richards, which is huge for this team. I think, you're going to need those guys in more clutch situations. So being able to give them a day off is probably a great thing. Like you said, Bo Bichette, not the best day, 1 for 5, but hopefully he can start turning it around. IKF, I mean, again, 1 for 2, 2 runs scored with
On base
actually
machine.
he is. He just is. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with him. We went over him in the last episode of some of the best players we've seen this year, and he's continuing to prove that he's doing what he needs to do. Vlad, 2 for 5, obviously the home run, 2 RBI, just 2 runs himself. Just good day from him. That's exactly what we need to see from Vlad Guerrero Jr., especially the home run ball. I mean, that's 107 off the bat, Carter. I'm not sure if you saw that, but 107 off the bat, and it was a towering blast. And he got that ball. I didn't know if it was going to leave, to be honest. 107 off the bat, and I didn't know if it was going to leave. So sort of crazy there. And another guy, I mean, obviously Springer. I'll go over his stat line just because it's unbelievable. 3 at-bats, 2 runs scored, 3 hits, 6 RBI, 2 home runs. It was just a machine today, and he was great to see. Justin Turner, 1 for 3, 2 runs scored. He had how many walks? 1 walk today as well. Yeah, Carter, just overall, I'm impressed, but I obviously need to see more. That's about where my stance is on this baseball team right now.
Yeah, I'm going to preface this by saying we want George Springer to be good so badly. Like, we want to see way more of this. If George Springer could do this all the time, we'd be over the moon. We don't want George Springer to be hitting under 200 ever. That's just never a thing that if we ever conveyed that on this podcast, that we gave you guys the wrong idea, because we were calling out George Springer for his abysmal performance. He's turned that around a little bit in the last 2 games, but like you said, we need to see more consistency out of him. But yeah, I mean, you're going over his last 2 games of his stats here. He's 6 for 8, 3 home runs, 8 RBIs. I mean, that is insane. George Springer is literally winning baseball games by himself the last 2 games. And then Vladimir Guerrero Jr. starting to get the power as well over his last 7 games. He has 32 at-bats, 12 hits, 4 home runs, 12 RBIs for an average of 375, an OBP of also 375, and a slugging of 875. So if you get Vladdy going, you get George Springer going, you get Justin Turner going as well. Just by the way, I just want to throw this out there. Justin Turner's hit in that first inning, absolutely ridiculous. I loved it so much just because the way it happened. Who was playing first base today for the Yankees? I actually don't know.
I don't have it off the top of my head. You know what?
I can quickly look into it. But again, the first baseman, just I know what you were trying to do there. You want it to go foul so you don't have to concede the run. But with the way Carlos Rodon is pitching, I feel like you probably have to just take the out. Like, Carlos Rodon has not been good over his last, honestly, a ton of starts. It hasn't looked great. And it's Ben Rice. Ben Rice is the guy that was playing first base, a guy that hasn't played a lot of games with the New York Yankees. That's why I was struggling to find his name there. The Yankees are in a little bit of trouble here when you got Ben Rice in the lineup. But just going back to, I'm going to go back to Jose Berrios here, and I'm kind of bouncing all over the place a little bit because there's actually a lot of good things to talk about. And on this podcast, we just didn't really have a lot of good things to talk about, especially over the last week. So I got to just be a little bit excited here, obviously, about my team. But Jose Berrios, I mean, what an outing from this guy. You get an Anthony Volpe, just kind of serves the ball into center field in the first inning. After that, you get a Trent Grisham. I'm calling it a make-believe home run because I don't know how this ball got out. 330, the opposite field. Whatever, man. It's just Jose Berrios just gives up a home run pretty much every start, it seems like. That's how he allows his runs. But 7 innings pitched, 2 earned runs. You should pretty much win every single baseball game if you're getting that stat line. David Schneider looked good again. Ernie Clement looked good. IKF looked good. Pretty much everyone on this team looked good. Alejandro Kirk even had a double. Other than Bo Bichette. Bo Bichette had, and again, he led it off the game with a single, obviously, which was very nice. Contributed to the 5-run first inning, which was absolutely insane. Just when is the last time the Toronto Blue Jays started a game even remotely close to that? This team went on a stretch where they had, 30 games in a row, 29 or 30 games in a row where they didn't score a run in the first inning. And then all of a sudden you get 5 runs in the first inning, all 5 of your guys in the top of the order reach. That's just something we're not accustomed to with this Toronto Blue Jays team. So just seeing the consistency throughout the lineup, everyone contributing, was such a massive piece for me. And maybe you keep IKF at the top of that lineup. He's looking real good. But one last thing I want to say about this lineup, John Schneider, George Springer, unbelievable last 2 games. But for the love of God, it's been 2 games. Keep him at the 5 spot. Clearly, it's working out pretty well there. I thought he should have been hitting lower. But when you hit 3 home runs in 2 games, just don't move him. Let him just stay consistent in that 5 spot. If he continues to do this for 2-3 weeks, sure, you can play around with it. But for right now, leave him at the 5 spot, for the love of God.
Yeah, Carter, and you know what? We do have a lot to get into in this second segment as well here, so we're going to take a quick break. But before we do that, I just have one more piece to say, and it's something me and you have taught sort of a little bit discussed over the past couple days. Just sort of sitting on the couch, chatting, and that is Davis Schneider, right? Everybody wanted this guy to be the second coming of Christ, but that's not the guy he was going to be, and I think people have to realize that this guy was going to be a great addition piece that gave you a little bit of pop from the plate in clutch moments. And that's exactly what he is. It just, yeah, it's a tough look on him when the rest of the team wasn't doing well and people started to rely on him more than they probably should have. So now when he goes 1 for 4 in a game or 2 for 4 in a game, that is the outing you want from a guy that's supposed to be hitting lower in your lineup. He wasn't the guy that was supposed to come in and be hitting 3 or 4 for this team. So just a little quick thing I wanted to throw out there, just so people don't I don't want to say underestimate David Schneider, but this is the role he was supposed to be playing when he was brought in here. A utility guy that can give you some clutch moments, some pop from the plate, and that's what he's been. So yes, he hasn't been as great as he has been, but this is the role exactly he was brought in to play, and he's a fan favorite. I think you got to stay away from getting too hard on this guy when your 5 top guys show up and play. He looks good in the role he was brought into play. So just a quick thing there from me. But Carter, I know we got to take a break. We've been yapping. A lot to get into in this second segment as well. So we're going to do that right away. Today's episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Yeah, got to say that. I love it. Booking.com has helped us a ton when we've been going on trips, like I said, to New York, to Toronto. They even got some Canadian stuff in there as well, so it really helps. With summer traveling heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you have always secretly wanted to learn more about. Yes, we're talking about your rivals' cities with hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com. You might just find the perfect stay even in your baseball rivals' city. Like I said, I went to New York. We use this app. It was perfect. It's so easy to use. I really suggest giving it a look. From hotels that look over stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travel this MLB season. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com, on the site, or in the Booking.com app. Yeah, I had to do a little bit of a switch up there. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. I talk all the time about FanDuel. This is like I said, my favorite app on my phone because I win some money sometimes. I lost money today on the Blue Jays games because this was just not something I expected. I don't think anybody expected George Springer to do this. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, you get a fewer games and the fewer sports that aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. So Carter, second segment here. This is a big one. We've had some big Ross Atkins news along with a little bit of a statement, I want to say, from Bo Bichette. Carter, I'm going to throw it to you because I don't necessarily know where you want to start. We got a lot to go over here.
Yeah, I think we got to start with the Bo Bichette quote because that's the one that caught me the most off guard. Again, like when you're looking at Vladdy and Bo, Vladdy has been fairly vocal about expressing that his interest is in staying in Toronto. Again, you get that Yankees article, you get the Astros being interested in him. There's the way the Blue Jay season was going, you could pretty much make an argument for pretty much every good player on this team being moved at some point or some team being interested in it, whatever it is. But Hazel May asked Bo Bichette, I'm just going to read it straight from the actual quote here. So Hazel May spoke to Bo Bichette about trade rumors and deadline talk. I asked him whether he'd be surprised if he were moved at the trade deadline. And he says, no, not surprised at all. I don't know how to feel about that. Obviously, Bo Bichette having a down year, it doesn't really seem like, again, I'm just kind of assuming here, it doesn't really seem like he has a ton of interest in staying in Toronto long term. I don't know if Bo Bichette's a guy that wants to be the face of the franchise, wants to be the guy that everyone's talking about. With Vladimir Guerrero Jr. here, obviously he is a fan favorite. He, I would say, is the face of the franchise. So there might be a little bit of that into it. Maybe Bo Bichette just wants to change of scenery. Obviously, no playoff success with the Toronto Blue Jays. Can't really blame him too much. But then again, you look at the Seattle Mariners series that I absolutely hate talking about. Bo Bichette was one of those players that did cost the Blue Jays a lot of runs, obviously injuring George Springer in that process. Just kind of a boneheaded play. I'm not really sure why Bo Bichette and George Springer aren't communicating out there. But yeah, just a tough thing to hear, because especially with all the trade rumors, a lot of fans assume that if this season were to go down to the dumps, they're going to move on from either Vladimir Guerrero Jr. or Bo Bichette. Some people think both. I don't necessarily think that. And I think right now, a lot of people, just from the recency bias, would be leaning towards keeping Vladimir Guerrero Jr. But this is definitely going to be something to monitor over the next couple of weeks. The trade deadline is just over a month away. Bo Bichette can't really figure this stuff out. He's obviously still going to have value, leading the AL in hits. I think it was 3 out of 4 years. So a guy like that is hard to pass up on. The Toronto Blue Jays would get an absolute haul for him. And again, this is going to kind of go into some future talks as well. If the Toronto Blue Jays know that Bo Bichette is not interested in re-signing, that he's not interested in signing a longer-term deal, maybe it's not the worst idea to jump ship on him. Get a huge haul of prospects. Obviously, he has another year of control. That would be another big incentive for a team to trade for him. But definitely something that I'm going to be looking at closely, and not exactly what I wanted to hear about Bo Bichette and his future with the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah, and it's just a tough look, too, because your team goes out and does, is on a great 3-game stretch and is having success finally. And this comes out and it sort of puts a damper on everyone's mood. My problem with moving Bo Bichette, don't get me wrong, if he doesn't want to be here, you can't force somebody to stay. But my problem with moving on from Bo Bichette is, I think me and you also talked about this, is that whenever you trade Bo Bichette and you play that team, Bo Bichette's going to go somewhere else and have success. And that is going to be such a hard look for fans when Bo Bichette goes to the Dodgers or whoever he ends up going to and ends up playing really well. And that might just be this change of scenery that he needs, but it's going to affect fans so deeply when Bo Bichette ends up leading the AL or NL in hits and is producing a ton again. So it's a very tough situation to look at. Carter, we have a ton more. Ross Atkins had a bunch of quotes today as well. He's talking to Keegan Matheson. He just today or yesterday he spoke with Keegan Matheson, saying 10 days ago we were feeling like there was positive momentum, and that has gone away. Obviously, before today's game or yesterday's game, the fact that we are in a position squarely lies with me. I'm accountable for that. He then continues saying, I just expected us to score more runs. I think everyone in the building did, and we need to find out why that doesn't happen. He later added, we believe in these hitters. We believe in these players. Then Ross Atkins spoke more about improving in 2024 and less about the trade deadline, but said, we have not received many or a significant number of calls asking for our players that are on short contracts. It's more downloading where we are from a strategy standpoint. Just a very tough, I think, a bunch of comments coming out today. And it's so tough to hear because I think we had a little bit higher expectations going into this season. I think every Blue Jays fan did. And it just didn't go our way. And yeah, there's still a chance that this team crawls from the depths of hell and comes back and somehow earns a playoff spot. But it's so unlikely now that they've set themselves what seems like so far behind the 8 ball. Carter, what's your just reaction to what Atkins had to say today?
With Atkins, I mean, he can't say that this has been a failed season. He can't say that his tenure has been failed, obviously, because that would be the quickest fire job I've ever seen in my life. So obviously, Ross Atkins is going to have to try to spin this somehow in a positive outlook. I'm actually surprised that he said, I'm taking accountability for that. This is the first time that Ross Atkins has actually said things, and it seems like he was even being a little bit genuine. So he did take some accountability, did say he expected more from these hitters. And again, like you look at this lineup, George Springer, you can't expect him to be this bad, or you couldn't have. Justin Turner, again, one of those things. I don't think you could have expected him to be this bad. But this was a huge storyline in the offseason. Having your big signings being Justin Turner and IKF. Again, nobody saw IKF being this good for this long in the first half of the season. But with Justin Turner being your key move, when there was guys like Cody Bellinger, again, Jorge Soler, another guy isn't having a great season. You look at some of these other guys, it wouldn't necessarily go that well. But Tommy Pham was available, power hitting outfielder, a guy that's been getting on base a ton, would have helped this offense a ton. just like that. You look at this payroll, it's the 8th highest in baseball. So obviously expectations were going to be high. There's just no way around that, unfortunately. So this team, again, I don't think they're going to go for a full rebuild, going kind of back to this Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. thing. You traded both Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Those are the guys that put butts in seats. Those are the guys that people want to go see at the Rogers Center. If you move on from both of these players, I have a feeling the Rogers Center attendance would go way down and people would know the direction of this team, which would be a nice thing actually to know that the team would have some sort of direction. But then that'd be committing to a rebuild. You look at how old Bo and Vladdy are. They're still getting into their primes, obviously still on arbitration. They both still have one more year, Bo being 26, Vladdy being 25. So these guys aren't old at all. Again, you haven't really seen success, but these guys are just entering their primes. You could say that they haven't even reached their prime yet, per se, because a lot of these Blue Jays hitters and just hitters in general in the MLB, they don't actually activate until they're 29, 30 years old, 31 years old, having a little bit more experience in the league. So going back to Ross Atkins here, again, I think he can't really just say things how they are. He's going to have to positively spin it no matter what to protect his job and the people around him. But just an interesting press conference, to say the least, for me. You got to expect more. Toronto Blue Jays fans expected more. So it is nice to hear him say that. But it's having a little bit too much faith, I think, in the Toronto Blue Jays. But like I said, can't blame him for saying what he said.
Yeah, at the end of all this, after reading all this, sort of digesting it, and maybe taking today's game not so much into account when reading this, I think he sort of said as much as he could. I'm sort of giving him a little bit of a break on today's conference, because I think that he went far enough where he's giving the fans some backup. You know what I mean? Like he's not completely acting like the fans are stupid. And I think that's huge, because all season long, that seems to be what was happening, and fans were getting pretty pissed off. So just, it's nice to at least hear something. And I think that's what we got from today. So overall, I'm actually okay with everything that he said, just in the sense of taking some accountability as well. But yeah, I don't know. Tough road, Carter. It's going to be a tough road for the rest of this season into next for sure.
There is one thing from this press conference I was just going to bring up before you said you kind of giving him a break here. I'm giving him a break on the majority of this, I guess. And again, he has to positively spin zone this in a way. But this is the quote that kind of got my stomach irking a little bit. So again, it's from Hazel May. She asked Ross Atkins why fans should still have faith. And he says, the biggest thing is the success they've had in the past, many of them together from all the way from the minor leagues over the last 4 years. The other reason is the belief that things can get turned around. So he says success that these guys have had together. Is his definition of success making the playoffs 3 out of 4 years and not winning a playoff game? Again, You have regular season success, but who cares about regular season success? The Toronto Blue Jays could go 162-0, and if they lost in the divisional round and it got swept, I wouldn't care at all, because the whole goal is to win a World Series. The whole goal is to make a deep playoff run, and the Toronto Blue Jays haven't done that with this current team, haven't done that with Ross Atkins. So just this spin zone with the fans saying they should still have belief. How about the Toronto Blue Jays play like they did yesterday, play like they did the day before, or not the rain delay game, I guess the offense, the way they did against the first game of the Red Sox series and the second game of the Red Sox series. If they can play like that consistently, give the fans a reason to get excited about this team. Give us a reason to get excited about this team. Actually show some consistency on the field. Show that you want to win games. Show that you are capable of winning games. And the fans are going to be a lot more realistically able to get behind this team and actually cheer for a Blue Jays team that actually has a chance and plays competitive baseball.
Yeah, right. And then hearing that, I mean, that's tough to hear. But I think as a whole, though, I think my takeaway is we're starting to see a little bit of responsibility being taken. And I don't expect him ever to go out and say anything, completely off the wall about his team. I don't think that's even, logical to think that would happen. So from what we got today, I'm pretty okay with it. I'm happy that the Blue Jays got a win. It was nice to see George Springer come back. As a whole, today was a better day if you take out the Bo Bichette getting traded or thinking that he's going to get traded. But the rest of everything, I think, as Blue Jays fans, I think you have a little bit more to be happy about today.
Yeah, I guess like with the game, obviously that happened. Just beating the brakes off the Yankees is never something I'm going to complain about, especially with Carlos Rodon. Like, just there's so many players on the Yankees that just aren't playing good baseball right now, pretty much other than Aaron Judge. I'm loving the preying on the downfall of Alex Verdugo, Anthony Volpe, another guy that just hasn't been that good as of late. Like I said, they're playing Ben Rice. Obviously, there's been injury stuff like that. You didn't see DJ LeMahieu, that old man, today, probably for good reason. I'm excited. I'm going to say that first time ever, just because the Yankees are playing a bad brand of baseball. The Toronto Blue Jays are showing signs of life. We can start getting excited about George Springer at bats. I'm just, again, I'm going to be a little bit of a hypocrite here because I'd say I don't want to take the small wins anymore. But if George Springer can start having competitive at bats that I don't want to tear my eyes out watching, I'm going to take that for sure, because that would be the start of the Toronto Blue Jays offense getting back to a place that they're not maybe one of the best in the league, but they're serviceable, can win baseball games with how good the starting pitching staff is. The only thing that worries me is this bullpen. But again, reinforcements should be on the way coming up soon. Yimi Garcia within the next week. Hopefully, Jordan Romano, another guy within the next week. There is some positives in this bullpen. When you have a bullpen that's been depleted as it is so far this season, it's tough. It's going to be tough to have a lot of success, especially when you're throwing Tim Meza as one of your higher leverage guys. But saying that, we got a second game of the New York Yankees series to break down here. Before we do that, I just want to throw it over one more time to the Locked On 24/7 streaming channel. Locked On Sports Today, the Amazon Fire TV's channel app, whatever's more convenient for you, whether it's the MLB, the NBA, the NHL, the NFL, WNBA, college sports, you name it. Pretty much any sport you can think of will be on one of those two channels. But again, whatever's more convenient for you. Perfect opportunity to check out expert analysis. So, yeah, we're just going to go over the second game of the New York Yankees series and hopefully will this team to another Toronto Blue Jays win. So we'll get into that coming up.
Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. We always say Game Time, one of my favorite apps on my phone. I know I say that a lot, but I love these apps because I use them and I it helps me buy tickets. We went to Toronto. We used Game Time for every tickets because we got to see the zone deals, the flash deals, the view from the seat. I can go on and on about this app. My biggest component when I look for tickets is obviously the price, just like probably all of you. So it's nice to see what the price is going to be up front. There's no hidden fees. There's no added anything at checkout. It's all right up front and easily available to you. Pick out a specific game or match that you'd like to see, and I guarantee you that Game Time has cheap tickets available anywhere in the stadium that you want to see. You can sit and actually see your view, which is what we did, like I said. So it's a great place to get your tickets. Last minute deals as well. You can save up to 60% off buying last minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, pretty much everything you want. Take the guesswork out of buying your MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. So, Carter, Game 2 on the way. Hopefully the Blue Jays can take another bite out of the Yankees. But we had a baseball game today, and I thought, it was a tough loss. It was a tough loss. You got the jersey on today. I hopped in a quick shower before we did this. We lost 6-5 in a slow pitch game, in a men's slow pitch game. Ridiculous score. The defense was pretty good. A couple errors today from not us, surprisingly. And decent day at the plate. We just, the boys just as an entirety just could not hit the ball today. It was a rough outing. And now what are we, 0-3? We played the three best teams in the league so far. So I think there's room that the boys can bring it back. But I don't know, 6-5 loss. That's brutal.
Yeah, we are the Toronto Blue Jays of the men's slow pitch league. We can't hit whatsoever to save our lives. Again, you score 5 runs in a 9-inning baseball game in slow pitch like that. That's just not great. But I got to toot my own horn here. I'll start with you though. I mean, you were 3 for 3 up to this point. Again, we're in the 9th inning. We're down 6-5. We're in the middle of our order. Brayden hits a ball into right field. It's literally like a ball away from being fair. And then of course he has to line it to second base. We have a base runner on first. Takes too far of a lead, and that's how we end the ball game. We get doubled off at first. But again, a good day from Brayden. I think it was easily the best offensive day on our team because nobody can hit. I think I was 2 for 4 with an infield hit, so it wasn't that good for me either. But again, I got to toot my own horn from the pitching staff here.
Yeah.
Because I was pitching. So again, if I'm making errors on the mound, I mean, that's just not great. But in slow pitch, I did my own ERA calculation here. I have an ERA of 3.86. That's kind of ridiculous. I got
That's
my
nuts.
own over there. Like that's almost twice as good as Tim Meza. Again, he's playing in the MLB, but I'm also throwing a ball underhand to a bunch of guys that are in their primes. I mean, they're from their team is 22 to 25. Dallin Wilton, as you've seen on this podcast, was playing there. Absolutely neutralized that guy. Only had one for 4 with a single and 2 infield fly balls. Like just ridiculously bad from Bob. I just own that guy, honestly. But yeah, a tough loss. It is what it is. But let's get into some Yankees versus Blue Jays baseball. So obviously they're back at the Rogers Center. A guy that we know fairly well, Marcus Stroman, going against Yusei Kikuchi. Again, big game. Marcus Stroman has been a good pitcher for the New York Yankees, but the New York Yankees offense has not been that good as of late. Again, 4 straight series losses in a row. So you got to kick a team when they're down, especially when it is the New York Yankees. I think they're still leading the AL East as of this point. The Baltimore Orioles are knocking on the door, though. So hopefully we can do the Orioles a favor here and the Blue Jays a favor, obviously, by winning against the New York Yankees and at least securing a series split. But Braden, what are you expecting? I'll start with this. And what are you expecting from George Springer in this game? What would be a positive reinforcement of George Springer's? Just say he has 4 at bats. What do you want to see him do?
What I see him doing and what I want to see him doing are 2 different things. I think if he could go 1 for 3 with a walk, maybe an extra base, the hit's an extra base hit. I think I could see that. What I think is going to happen is he's going to go 1 for 4 with a single tomorrow. I think it's going to sort of come back to earth a little bit here. I don't think it's a terrible day from him, but and I also believe that John Schneider will move him up, to be honest with you, if I'm being fully transparent. Do I want to see that happen? Obviously not. I think you leave him there. It's where he's hitting well. But at the end of the day, John Schneider, we've gone over this how many ever countless times, and it's going to happen. He's going to move him up. He's going to be hitting in the 4 spot next game, and I think he's not going to have as good of a day.
See, John Schneider was just a little bit early on saying George Springer is about to get hot. I think he was a week early. If he could have just said that a little bit later, he would have been looking like a really smart man right now. But George Springer, he's going 4 for 4 with 4 bombs. That was the trick question. You just got it wrong. So tough for you. Should have just said that. But yeah, I mean, let's beat the Yankees again. I just love beating the brakes off the Yankees. If George Springer can stay at 5, I think that will definitely be beneficial for this team. One thing that I didn't talk about that I just wanted to quickly reference here is Ernie Clement made a catch early in the baseball game where him and David Schneider were kind of like running at each other. And Ernie Clement, literally like half a second before the ball was going to hit the ground, he looked at David Schneider, somehow relocated the ball and made a catch. It's absolutely insane stuff from Ernie Clement. That's the kind of defense that I guess we pay for. I mean, with the 8th highest payroll in baseball, not as much from Ernie Clement, but obviously a lot of other players on this team. Just wanted to say thank you guys for watching. Enjoy your long weekend. If you're from Canada, obviously Canada Day is on the Monday. I'm looking forward to it. Just having a couple days off. Obviously, going to spend some time with friends. Have the Blue Jays games on as well. Hopefully, they continue to play good baseball and at least can get the win on Canada Day. So, just again, a reminder for this weekend. We'll be recording our episode on Saturday, which will be out for the Monday podcast. So we'll have a Friday game to recap, a Saturday game to recap, and then any other Toronto Blue Jays news and analysis will be there. And then the Monday games will be recapped on Tuesday's episode. So just some a little bit of organizational stuff being cleaned up there. Just one more time, thank you guys for watching. The likes, comments, subscriptions have been very much appreciated. You guys following us along on this literal roller coaster of a season. Again, you go from getting swept back-to-back times to somehow George Springer arising from the dead and having 3 home runs in 2 games. So just insane stuff. We appreciate you guys always following along. One more thing I want to add on, again, Locked On 24/7 streaming channel, Amazon Fire TV's channel app, or Locked On Sports Today. Expert analysis from pretty much any sport you can think of. You guys already know the 9 yards on that. Check it out if you guys have the time over the weekend. Braden, you got anything else to add before we take off for this weekend here?
No, I just want to see Garrett Cole lose a baseball game. That's my goal for the weekend. That's all I want to see. Let's go.